Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not reflect any affiliated organizations. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice in any field, including but not limited to sports, healthcare, politics, esports, or music. Listeners should do their own research and consult professionals where needed. We make no guarantees about the accuracy of the information shared. Listener discretion is advised.
The Rascals Lounge Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rascals Lounge Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, today we got a special guest, an amazing guest. Today we got the one and only, the mastermind, the top percussionist in the world. And I'm proud to introduce to you my cousin, Lenny Castro. Hey, Lenny, how's it going, brother?
How you doing, Papa? It's good to see you. It's good to be here. My
Amen.
pleasure and my honor. Okay.
Yeah, so Lenny, try to give the fans around the world a little bit of your background.
Oh, my God. Well, I was born and raised in New York. I mean, that in itself tells you, at that time, I was born in 56, so music was flourishing in New York. New York was just unbelievable place, especially if you were a musician. So I was, I was what you call a natural. I started playing at 3 years old. Mom and Papi got me, my first bongos, and I would play, sit in front of the radio and on weekends and listen to these great DJs we used to have, like Symphony Sid and Dick Ricardo Sugar. And I'd sit there Friday nights, Saturday nights, and play my bongos, listen to the music, jazz, Latin jazz, great. In those days they had great radio shows. I mean, there was some incredible music going on. And Mom and Papi would be dancing in the living room, having their rum and cokes, and enjoying it. And you would hear everybody in the whole neighborhood would have their radios on and with their windows open, especially summertime. So the whole neighborhood would be grooving, So wow. I started playing, teaching, self-taught. I had a knack for music since my real dad, Hector Castro, was a musician also. So I got the music gene from him, it seems like. Well, for sure,
Yeah.
He was a keyboard player, went to music and art, the same high school that I went to. He grew up with guys like Willie Bobo and Tito Puente, and eventually climbed the ranks and started working for Celia Cruz and Johnny Pacheco. He was MD for Celia for a while. So he was pretty much in the deep of it. So I got, even though he didn't raise me, he wasn't around raising me, that music trade was real strong. So wow. My mom and my stepfather nurtured me and, supported me and not pushed, but said, that where you want to go? That's where you're going to go, But, you got to do it right. So then eventually started going to music school and reading and writing, and one thing led to another. I wound up... I had some great teachers that supported me along the way. I have to mention one guy in junior high school, a guy named Robert Just, who he saw what I had, and it was funny because I told my mother, I want to be in the band. I want to be in the band. So she says, well, go up there and tell that guy you want to be in the band. So that's what I did. And I want to be in the band, and I think I just got into junior high school. So he's like, oh, really, kid? Or, so I played a little bit for him, and he saw there was something. So he said, okay, we're going to nurture you, we're going to teach you. And he did a lot of things for me. He got me scholarships. My first professional drum set, he bought it through the school so I could get the 50% discount. I mean, this cat bent over backwards for me, and I owe him a lot. And got me into the classical training and the classical music and the band and orchestras and stuff. And he told me, listen, you're gonna, if you want to go this route, it's not going to be easy, but And from that point on, one thing led to another. I went to music and art high school. Graduated from there. Wasn't really too crazy about college, so I actually got a job in the professional drum shop in New York, which was a haven for any drummer and every drummer in the world. And that was kind of an education. And from there, I got my job with Melissa Manchester, which was my first really big professional uh,
Oh wow.
gig. And she eventually moved to LA, and she took the band with her, and that's how I wound up out here. But I had been working professionally though. I mean, I was making money when I was 14 years old before I even got to that place with Melissa. I've been doing a lot of Latin gigs in New York, after hours gigs. Start at 2 o'clock in the morning and go to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Go home with a bloody shirt because I'd be playing so much and so hard I'd pop a finger. And
Wow.
my mother was like, "Oh my God, I killed my son." I said, "No, ma, just making some money." Those were some interesting gigs, man. And I was like 14 when I was doing the local LA salsa circuit. Some interesting
Jeez.
people I met, I tell you.
I bet those were the good times.
Yeah,
Those were
man.
good.
There was everybody was dancing. There was, salsa
Yeah.
was so big in the 60s and 70s. It was,
Yes.
places like El Corso and the Hippocampo, Casablanca, the Cheetah.
Yeah.
All those places disappeared.
Yeah. Nowadays the salsa is not like it used to be before.
Well,
Because now it's like it's I don't know. It's like even in the island in Puerto Rico, the reggaeton is like made such a big
exactly,
change, and then
exactly. The
now
reggaeton
people
has
are
taken
missing
over.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
the reggaeton.
taking over. Well,
Yeah,
it took over because now when you go to the stores down there, you don't hear the salsa and the merengues a lot.
yeah.
You'll
Well,
hear it.
yeah. I gotta give a shout out though on that same subject. There is one person that I know that's out there that's doing a lot for the Puerto Rican people and for subiendo la raza, as we say. I gotta give credit to Bad Bunny. That
Oh
guy,
yeah.
his latest album. I mean, it took me a while to get into him and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But some friends of mine, with some other percussionists and some kids, we always communicate, the community of musicians, and we turn each other onto stuff. And a friend of mine turned me onto this one thing, and I checked out Bad Bunny's latest album, which has a lot of music on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's half reggaeton, that whole thing with the electronics y todo eso,
Correct.
which is cool because it sells. You know,
Yeah.
you,
That's what
you got
makes the money.
what they want. But the other half of the album is very traditional sounding, man. It's got some
Mm.
really. It's even got like an aguinaldo type of tune on there, which was like the Christmas music
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my house. In Christmas time, that was all you heard was
That's
aguinaldo.
all you hear.
Ping pa dum ping ka ding ding ding.
Ramito. Yeah.
But he pays tribute to his roots. So
Yeah, he did.
I gotta like I like we were talking about. The reggaeton thing
Yeah.
is a new thing. It's a lot of percussionists that I talk to are not crazy about it because it seems to be a dumbing down rhythmically of salsa music. They took all the rhythms and everything and then kum, kakum, kankum, kankum was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's what disco music did to a lot of rock and a lot of pop stuff. It gave you the four on the floor, boom. I call it feet music. It's for the feet
Yeah.
only, But
Mm-hmm.
but that it's which is valid in its own way. For
Yeah.
dancing, people got to dance. People love to dance. You know, but
It's so true.
I mean, there's a place for everything and everything in its place.
A
Like
lot
you
of
say.
people are happy that he did that. He did that album. A
Well, I tell you
lot of
what,
people
he's
are
a very
happy.
smart man. Let me tell you, whoever his managers are and his agents, man, because he seems to be everywhere now. Even he was on SNL. Isn't there some kind of commercial, some pizza commercial with him on it?
I think so. I think
Yeah, I mean, no, he's a smart guy. He's a
he's a
smart guy.
smart guy. And you know what's really crazy? He used to work at Econo in a grocery market in Puerto Rico,
Okay, let me
filling
think
up
of it. Hey,
aisles.
you gotta start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, and
You
he
know,
did it. And people are
yeah,
like, I used to work with him at the supermarket.
yeah. Hey, we all had to. I had to do. I didn't do too many other gigs other than music. I
Hmm.
mean, I was a newspaper boy at one time for a while, and when I was real young, that was like the first money I real made. Pop said,
Yeah.
"You gotta go get a job." So I deliver newspapers in Manhattan. There's a whole bunch of
Oh
stories.
gosh.
Man, that was an adventure. I mean, getting up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning to deliver newspapers to these tall buildings. Summertime, wintertime was the worst. Anyway, I'm going on about something.
No. Go ahead. Speak freely.
Yeah.
This is your
was,
time.
that was when I first started, earning my bread, which I really was happy to do, to tell you the truth. Because I mean, we weren't well-to-do people. My dad worked very hard, and my mom worked too, until she stopped working.
Mhm.
My stepdad, worked very, very hard to keep, good food on the table and roof over the heads. He was a solid man, and I learned a lot from him. But it was,
Wow.
that's what it was.
You had to do what you had to do. Now,
Yeah.
were you 14 or like 15 and 16 when you were doing that? Well,
Yeah,
newspaper and all that?
The first gig was with a guy named Johnny Colon, not Willie Colon.
I was gonna say, wait. Okay.
No.
Johnny.
I met Willie later on when I started getting really into the deep end of the pool of the
Mhm.
salsa thing. But he was my first one. He was a trombone player when he first started, and he turned keyboard player.
Oh.
Chiquitito, flaco with thin hair.
Mhm.
Thought he was like the hit for all the women. Well, anyway, it was funny, but I learned a lot doing that gig, man. My first lesson was don't ever let anybody get on your congas. He used to do this thing where when I first started with him, I started doing gigs. First of all, we would start playing, and then he was like, okay, conga solo. And he would get up off the piano and come to the congas and say, I'm going to do the solo. I'm going to do the conga solo. I was like, when I first, I was like, I was young buck. I was chiquitito.
Yeah.
So, okay, let him play my conga. He'll do the solo, yeah, whatever. He did that a couple of times and a couple of gigs, and that was like, that really stuck in my skin.
Yeah.
Oh, I mentioned it to mom and pop. My mother, she was like, what are you doing? Letting that come in mierda play on your conga. No sea. Well, a lot of explicatives.
Yeah.
It's just, next time, don't you ever let him do that. And my dad in the background going, nah, man, eso está malo. Eso sí que está malo.
Yeah.
That's
not good.
Now, tiene que arreglar eso. You got to fix that shit. The next gig, of course, Johnny, okay, conga solo. He gets up. Le dio una mira. I gave him a look. Willie, Johnny Colon gets up. I gave him like, don't you even. And I started soloing right away. And I soloed, and I took it out there. Even the timbalero was looking at me like, coño, chico, we got to get out. But I had a point to come across, to put across. And after that gig, and I did a pretty good solo. Everybody was, ah. And after the gig, okay, so, okay, you're a man now, huh? And I just like, well, these are my congas. Yo soy conguero. When the solos come, I do the solos. Okay? You keep
Correct.
You cool? And make sure you don't short my money.
That's right.
But, another story about that gig, man, was how I got the gig. Somebody told me about it, and I went to Johnny's house. He lived on the East Side Projects, the East River Projects, with his mom. Never mind. And I went, and we played a few things. I took my congas. I used to carry my congas in these army sacks. And I went and I played we rehearsed and stuff. All of a sudden, this guy comes in to his apartment. His mother lets him in. The guy sits down on the couch. Está ahí. Got out, finally, Johnny stops to rehearse. He says, okay, what do you want? What's your problem? Says, no, okay, you didn't tell me that I'm not the coquero on the gig anymore, blah, blah, blah. But it was the guy who had the gig before me. And I said, me metieron en un lío. Forget about it. All of a sudden, the guy pops Johnny in the fucking jaw. Pardon
Oh,
me,
my
French.
God. No, you're good. You're good.
He flew and landed in front of my congas. And I was like, okay, I think rehearsal's over. I packed my stuff I looked at Johnny. I said, "Call me for the next gig. I'm there." And as I'm leaving, his mother's with the sartén hitting the guy over the head. Mira, condenado, sácame de mi apartamento. I left. And I went
With a
home
sa-
and I told my parents about it, and they said, "Welcome to the world, Papa." So,
Wow.
I mean, that's just a taste of life in el barrio, you know.
Wow.
But,
Yeah, el barrio. That's how it is in New York. El barrio.
well, bro, man, I mean, those after hours gigs were the funniest ones, man, because those guys would go in and there would be these apartment buildings getting ready to get demolished maybe in a month or two or whatever.
Mm,
And they'd move in and they'd set up shop doing
mm.
dances on the weekend in these dilapidated. I swear, one time we did a gig in this one apartment house, and I swear to God, I was about 3 a.m. and people were dancing and crazy, and I saw the floors going like this.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
man, I can't wait to get out of here. I couldn't wait, and fortunately, I think not too long after that, that building had to come down because of
Had to be demolished.
that does. I mean, but
Gee.
like I said, at a young age, I learned a lot about the world and music and
Mhm.
dealing with band leaders and gigs and other musicians and the whole situation of being a musician, playing.
Correct.
So,
Now, do you had your own agent at that time
oh
or
no,
no?
I've never had an agent. Never. I
Never.
mean, that was not even. That was agents were for stars, for people that were names,
Yeah.
that were recording artists, not for side guys. What we call side sausages. No,
Yeah.
not for the sidemen. There was, I mean, later on, I know some guys now, and in the '70s and in the '80s, some musicians opted to get management or agents or stuff like that. But
Correct.
you know what? I at a young age, I was like, I don't want somebody else talking about my money. I don't
Yeah.
need somebody else to talk about my money for me.
Yeah.
Well, you come directly to me. That I'm not going to be paying. So I don't. I've been lucky. My playing and my
Yeah.
personality, I guess, and my
Hmm.
reputation has gotten around.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Worked
I
for
think
me.
everybody in the music industry knows who you are.
Yeah, in
And
the community, I'm still there. I mean, even though
yeah,
things have changed quite a bit, I'm still.
I mean you got to play with Justin for Justin Bieber and Justin Timberlake and Adele. I mean, hello.
But I never met those guys. I was at overdubs with those. I mean, it's so funny because also there's been so many artists that I've worked with that were never even around when I performed, when I overdubbed.
Oh
'Cause they're
really?
like, oh yeah, we're doing, it's like the artists, we're doing percussion overdubs. We don't need the artist to be there. Now, sometimes artists do want to be there for everything. Guys like Michael Bublé. Michael Bublé
Yeah.
doesn't have to be there for the percussion, but he was like, I like to, I'm a hands-on kind of guy. And in fact, one session I did for him, he had his whole family from Canada. They came down and he invited them to come to the session. And,
Oh wow.
mom, pop, and nieces and nephews running around the studio, coming in and say, "Hey, mister, what does that do?" And they were nice people. They were great. I loved them, it was a fun session.
Yeah, I like his
Him,
music
yeah,
because
he's an ultimate performer. Yeah.
really
Yeah, yeah. He's one of the few younger entertainers that has that old vibe, that pack
oh
rat, the pack
yes,
rats, the Rat Pack,
the Rat Pack.
the Frank Sinatra guys and
Yes,
the old Vegas cats.
the Tony Bennett.
Yeah, and also there's another Lenny Kravitz, definitely.
Yes,
He's a
you played with him too.
he doesn't miss anything that goes down on his albums. He's got to be there for everything.
Wow,
He's a cool guy. I love him a lot.
really?
He is so freaking cool. Him and what's his name? Slash, El Guitarrista.
Yeah, for Guns N' Roses, Slash.
Yeah, I worked on his solo album too. He's a sweetheart too. He's ultimate
Oh my
cool
god,
guys. I
those
asked,
guys are awesome.
it's like, what am I doing hanging with these guys? But
Yeah.
they're part of
You
the
got
family.
yourself into it. Everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, no.
You
They're
know, talking
sweethearts.
about the Rat Pack, I got to see Tony Bennett And, before he passed away,
Oh man.
I recorded it, took pictures, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. I said, I want that on my bucket list, and my wife made it happen. He came to the
That's just good.
Rockstar in Fort Lauderdale, I think it is,
Yeah.
and it was phenomenal performance. He
Yeah.
did good. He
Yeah.
did
Oh.
really good, and his daughter sang with him too.
Oh my God.
It was
And you're so lucky
nice.
to have to catch him. You know,
Yeah.
I think I met him. I met him a couple of times. I met him when I was really, really young. When I first got with Melissa Manchester. She was under a management called Rollins, Jaffe, and Maroon. They were a big time entertainment managers kind of guys, and they had a big stable of comedians, and they also had Tony Bennett. They managed him.
Oh,
So
wow.
I would go up to their offices and hang out. You know, since I was with Melissa, I would go up to the office. Oh yeah, the young. They used to call me the young pickle because I was the youngest one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Melissa, and I would go there. You know, to talk with the management and stuff like that. And one time I was up there, Tony was there, man. I was like, oh my God, I almost
Wow.
peed in my pants. I didn't think I met him then, but he was in the office at the same time. And
Yeah.
then years and years and years later, I was doing the Montreux Jazz Festival with Joe Bonamassa, and we played after him down at the Montreux Jazz Festival. We got to say hi and shake hands. You know, he's one of those guys you feel like, oh, he's like your uncle. You know, he feels like
Right?
family.
Yeah,
It's
like family.
Yeah, good sweet guy. You know, talk the way he talked and his whole aura. God, what a sweet guy. So you got to see him perform, man. That's the
I got
greatest.
to see him. It was phenomenal. I even recorded it on my phone, and I still kept it, and
Oh man, yeah,
I was like such an honor. Got to
yeah,
see him live.
yeah.
It
My
was
folks used to. I mean, he was. You know, my folks were big fans of his also. You know,
love that music.
the old
Love
days.
his music.
Yeah,
And Michael Bublé doing that same type of style. It just like keeping that
yeah,
music
yeah.
into the modern day.
Most definitely, you know, and he puts a little bit of his own a younger vibe on it, but he stays true
Correct.
to the art of the big
Yeah.
band, you know, of the crooners, the classic jazz singers. You know, he's very,
Correct.
very energetic. You know, his whole persona is just beautiful. People love him. You know,
Oh
because
yeah, he's
his
phenomenal.
greatness comes out on stage, and you can't help yourself. You know.
So how was it that you got? Because a lot of people know you from Toto, especially the song Africa.
Right.
So how is it that you got in? How you got picked up by Toto? Was it that you're friends with them first, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, let's get together"?
I met Steve Lukather first. I think we met kind of hanging out at the at clubs here in LA. I think either the Big Potato or there were a lot of jazz clubs in them days here. And I think I met him then. And in those days he had an old beat up VW Bug with no passenger seat. So he could put his amplifier in, and that's how we got the sessions. And we buddied up, and he took me to a couple of he gave me a ride because I had no car when I was in LA. When I first went to LA, I was like no driver's license, no bank account, no. I was like
Oh God.
so green. I had nothing, no car. So I started getting sessions. So I got called for a Diana Ross session. I think it was for Richard Perry, producer. And so, we went down to the studio together and stuff like that. And that's where I met Jeff. And we met each other, and it was funny because I felt like I knew him all my life, and I just met him. I felt like, yeah, I know this guy, but how do I feel? Why do I feel this way? And so the session went incredible. We clicked really hard. And at the end of the recording session, as Jeff is leaving, he turns to me and Lukather and says, "Hey man, you guys want a gig?" And we're like, "Yeah, for sure. Who is it?" "Oh, show up at so and so soundstage for rehearsal. It's with Boz Skaggs."
Oh my gosh.
To tell you the truth, I'm going to plead ignorant. I didn't know who Buscaggs was at that time. I really wasn't too hip to him. So I was like, yeah, sure, whoever,
Wow.
whatever. So that's how me and Luca there got the gig with Boz. And so after that, me and Jeff started playing live together, and
Hmm.
me, Jeff, and Luke, the Scotty Edwards in the band, Jay Winding, Steve Vaccaro. It was an incredible band. Adrian Tapia at sax, John Madrid, God bless him, on trumpet. It was a mother band. And so the more I played with Jeff, the more he got stuck. Not got stuck, but he really enjoyed me the way I worked with him.
Correct.
So when we got off the road, he says, "Yeah, you got to come to our rehearsal where we're forming this band." So I started rehearsing and with them in the rehearsal studios. And that band eventually became Toto. So
Oh, wow.
so the music that I was doing with them was for the first album. So Jeff really he did a lot for my career. He just got enamored with me because of how I could play with him, and he really liked my concept and how I played with him. That was just, we were like bread and butter for a while. I mean, for the whole.
Yeah.
So, not only did he pull me in on the Toto thing, but sometimes he would call me. He'd be calling me up. He says, "What are you doing now?" I said, "Nothing. I'm home." He says, "Come to the studio right now. Bring a tambourine and a cowbell." I said, "Well, are you sure? Yeah, just jump in the car, come." And he would want me to be on these recording sessions with him.
Hmm.
It was we had a wonderful relationship. It really was really such a cool guy, you know.
Wow.
And I was very lucky to really lock in with him as heavy as I did. So like I said, that led to Toto because they're like,
Jeez. And I thought you were official band member for them.
no, they had already pretty much when they signed, the band was already them. And
Okay.
I have a couple of theories on what happened, but at that time, I think certain companies and certain people were looking for a certain look, and maybe I
Yeah.
filled the look or
Hmm.
whatever. So I just became like a ghost member because I pretty much recorded on 80% of what they've done.
Yeah.
They
You
had a
even on their videos too, even their
Yeah, I did the
official
early
videos.
videos and stuff like that, but my name is forever connected to them. Especially
It
because
is.
Toto
Yeah.
4 and how deep that one went, and still, I was driving back from fishing yesterday and going through the canyon, and
Mhm.
there's Africa blazing,
Yeah.
on the radio still.
It still is.
Yeah, and
Now,
that
was
was.
it
Go ahead.
what was it hard for you to transition the salsa groove into the rock? Because
No,
you
it
think,
really,
how can you put the no?
bro. I never even thought about it. It was just me playing to the music and
Mm,
fitting in. I just, I, I was really blessed with a great sense of music, of musicality, you know,
yeah.
and for me to go from one genre to another, there was no real thought process. I just followed what was going on. Oh, if that was jazz, okay, pop, okay, shuffle, okay, R&B, So I learned to become kind of a chameleon in a way and play within the genre, play within the context of what I was doing, what musics I was playing too, and
Wow.
playing with music, playing with a lot of drummers, and being able to connect with them,
Mm,
drummers and bass players. That's where I sit. I've
yeah,
always had a concept of the boiler room, which is where the energy of a band comes from, which is the bass, drums, and percussion. To me,
that's true. That's where it
foundation.
is, the energy.
foundation. So that's how basically the Toto thing came about.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
in the right
Yeah,
place,
because
at the right time, and just playing, just being me. If that's how you play, And the Africa thing, I don't even know how I came up with that rhythm. It was kind of like una mezcla de Brazilian style, a slow. But guys are trying to analyze that still. And I have no idea. I was just playing to what Jeff was laying down. I was
Mm-hmm.
playing something that fit with it, and it works. It's still working.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know,
Now the good thing about it is that you were basically independent, which
no,
is
yes,
was a good thing about it is that you could play for anybody. You're not
exactly.
you don't have a contract. You're not stuck with a label. You can't like
Yeah. Well,
work with anybody.
Jeff Porcaro told me that because one day I came home, I was touring with Stevie Wonder, and I was like, my head was in the sky, I was like, wow, I
Hmm.
got touring with Stevie and play all these tunes that I've been listening to all my life. I came back and I went to Jeff's house and went, hey man, I'm raving, kind of bragging a little bit. And he was like, yeah, okay, yeah, big deal. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with you? He says, well, man, you can do what you want and not have to answer to all the people I have to answer to. If I want to go out and do what you did, I got to talk to a manager, I got an agent, I got record company people, lawyers. I got like the ball and chains. And I
Wow.
was like, well, geez, it kind of humbled me a bit. But he was right, and I was like, well, my freedom is, I guess I should really, you know,
Appreciate it. Now.
exactly appreciate, think about it, and not be,
Appreciate it and keep it quiet.
yeah, not be such an ass. But I mean, it wasn't anything
Yeah.
bad. I mean, I was just,
You were
happy,
super happy, excited. Stevie Wonder. I mean,
excited.
hello.
Yeah, but so you have to be a little bit. I have to learn to be a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah. It's like good for you, pal. I
Yeah.
really wish I could be on your side.
Yeah, but I went through some mental hoops about that whole situation.
Yeah.
I got depressed about it. And sometimes, I remember one time they would do these things, signings. You go on the road and then you go to a record store and do some signings.
Hmm.
I went with them on a couple, and on one, this guy screams out from the audience, "Hey, Len, are you in the band yet?" And I was like, "No, all right,
Ah,
let's not go there."
yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. Um, I think Jeff was right. He everything and anything that they would have gone through, I would have had to gone through with them, bad and good. You know,
Yeah. That's true.
yeah, so I was very lucky to have my freedom.
That's true.
Uh,
You
Free
have your
agent.
freedom. Free agent. I mean, hello. I mean,
Yeah, I got to
jeez.
play and do a lot of things with a lot of different people. I mean,
Yeah.
without having to ask permission. You know.
I know. That's so good. I mean,
Yeah.
because you could just say, you know what? I don't like this artist. I don't want to play with them. I don't feel obligated, so I don't have to do it.
Correct.
Boom, you switch to another artist.
Yeah. That's it, basically. And I've been lucky. I think 99% of the artists I've been with have been really, really cool. I've been very, very fortunate. And one or two are not the greatest, but
Yeah. You got
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you're gonna get some cocky and really rude.
yeah, I'm not even gonna
It's
name.
like with anything, it's with even in sports, you're gonna probably get
Of
the bad
course,
manager or get somebody that's not good.
yeah. Egos
And
run rampant in sport,
hmm
and in music too. Egos are, and the thing is, you have to have, to rise to the top. You have to have a little bit of an ego, but it has to be, to me, it should be controlled and not let
correct.
run rampant, through the streets and do horrible things, But
Correct.
um,
I
yeah,
remember one time I went you gave me VIP passes to Stevie Nicks concert,
oh yeah, my
and she went ahead on the
um,
microphone,
so
gave you the solo, and said, "The best percussionist in the world,
yeah, well,
Lenny Castro." I was like,
I don't know about
everybody's
that.
like cheering, "Yay!"
I
And I
don't,
said, "Okay, I know that's gotta boost his ego right there." If
yeah,
Stevie Nicks says it, hey,
I'd be lying if I said no. I'd be lying if I said no. But it's nice to get confirmation, from people like her especially. She's the
yeah,
tambourine queen, man. We would always talk about her because she played a lot of tambourine, I think, on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the recordings too, she did some tambourine too. She was not bad. She had a thing, man, and she was
Yeah.
out of a lot of the people. There was some singers, they'll pick up a tambourine. Tambourines, cowbells, and shakers are kind of abused and misused by singers. They'll just
Yeah.
do, whatever. I mean, sometimes they do it to give them something to do, but a lot of times it gets in the way. I don't know. I've had to take stuff away from certain people. It's like, bro, look, I'm playing percussion here, okay?
Yeah.
I, you're making things, you're confusing.
Yeah.
But I mean, but occasionally, if somebody's joining in on a tambourine and they're within the shit, I just, yeah, go ahead, join up. But you got to be doing stuff right.
You gotta you gotta do it right and play it right, because
Yeah, yeah.
one little small tune could ruin, that's not properly played. They could just ruin the whole entire thing. I remember one time I called you. This is years ago, and you told me, I'm with, I don't want to mention the name, but it's a female artist, very well known, and you kind of like, you quit. And this is a person that you even have her personal number. You guys are really good friends. And
Who was that?
and
I don't.
starts with a B. Her first name starts with a B.
Oh, no.
Now you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, that wound up to be a great gig.
Oh,
The day
really?
Oh man, it just, yeah. At first, in the beginning, it was a pain in the ass, and I kind of, I mean, we could say who it is. I mean, it's Bette Midler, right?
Yeah,
It's Bette.
yeah,
Yeah, in the beginning, I was just not into doing that gig, and then she got a bunch of guys in the band that were all my buddies, and they kept on going, "You got to be in the band. You got to come." I says, "No, I don't do auditions. I don't, I don't. No, I don't want to do. I don't want to, I don't want to do it." I wasn't crazy about it. I heard, that she was a very difficult person. I heard, but I was actually
hmm
wrong about that later on. But eventually, what happened was I told the guys, "Oh, I'll come down and play with you guys and see how it feels." And after I finished playing with the guys, I said, "Well, you got the gig." I said, "Well, I didn't really want the gig, but okay, I'll take it." You know. And heavy gig, heavy gig. I wasn't ready for it, to tell you the truth, but
mm,
I I learned on the fly.
wow.
That gig with her. I mean, you have to know a lot of shit. You have to know many different genres. You have to know vaudeville. Have to know striptease. You have to know Jewish folk music. You have to know jazz. You have to know pop, jazz, rock. You have to know
Wow.
Broadway. You have to have Broadway timing. You have to know how to underscore and play under jokes. I mean, there's a world of things. If you're not ready for a gig like that,
Yeah.
get out.
Yeah.
And the guy who was putting the show together for her was the production manager, Joe Layton, was very, very famous and did a lot of shows. He did like Madonna and he took me under his wing, and I got very frustrated with it because it's like, it was a lot to deal with. I
Wow.
had to play timps, I had to play mallet along with all the other percussion stuff. And it was a bit of a demanding situation.
hmm
And he saw I was getting frustrated, and he took me to the side and said, "This is, he gave me some TLC and some support and some advice." And I was like, and this guy was an amazing man. I learned to love him so much because of his professionalism. He was one of those guys that had a vision. He could see the whole picture and knew every detail. He knew
Mm.
he could see the whole thing. His vision was incredible, and knew everything, the color of the curtains, how far they should be, how up, how everything, just amazing. So I learned to really enjoy that gig because I mean, after you would do a gig on that, after doing a show, I would walk away with such a sense of accomplishment. Man, I fucking did that. I,
Wow.
you know, and I learned to make the gig mine,
Mm.
and we became a big family. And I got real close with Bette, and she was just a beautiful woman, and we had a great relationship. You know,
Wow.
of course, she would come on stage sometimes, or come on a sound check a little, a little grumpy or something like that, and I'd go, no, 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 don't, don't come
Don't
over here
switch.
with that nonsense. One time, I forget what it was, and she was like, I think Lenny's mad at me. Oh no! Like I was kind of like the daddy of the tour. There were a lot of
Yeah,
like young people on the tour with us, but
that's funny. So yeah,
it's fun.
so
Yeah,
there's certain bands that you played, like you're like, okay, these people are actually really really good. They know what
mhm.
they're doing. I need
Oh
to
sure,
step up to my A game on this.
sure, yeah.
Wow. I assume that some of these artists are like very picky and very selective who they're gonna bring on. They don't
Well,
bring
some of them
whoever.
are not. I work with this one other artist. I'll say she, but these people didn't care about the band. They didn't the morale in the band, and I think I worked with these people with this person for about 2 or 3 years, and I had to quit because it was
Really?
just so the morale was just horrible. The management didn't care about us. We were being underpaid, overworked.
Mm,
We would play in these casinos forever, and they wouldn't comp us the gym or the pool, or we'd be living there. It'd be like they wouldn't
yeah.
take us some band dinners. It was I went home with my cards, my credit cards melting because I would take the band out for dinner
Yeah.
and get them to, on days off, or, just something to, make us feel better.
Correct.
It was so bad. And I wound up quitting and telling them, please don't ever call me again, because you guys don't care about the musicians.
That's sad.
It is, it's
That's
because
sad.
a lot of great musicians went through that camp, and still, they still get some good musicians. I'm hoping that things have changed, because this person is still doing some performances. So,
Wow.
and they're still getting good musicians. So, I hope some things have changed there. But yeah,
Now, when it comes to like Bette Midler, she's a diva. She's obviously really phenomenal voice.
diva, a well-deserved diva, though. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a diva. Her and Stevie Nicks are the nicest divas I've ever seen. There are some really horrible ones out there that are.
Yeah. Like let's stay away.
Oh no, you just don't want to be in the same room with them. They might
Wow.
like the way you look. You know,
Yeah.
but
And that's not good because I mean, if everybody has this positive energy and they're like that, it
yeah,
kind of ruins it. It
yeah,
ruins the vibe.
yeah. It's a lot of people don't. Well, now people. So a lot. Well, with all the internet and stuff like that, and all the stuff that goes on out now, you a lot of that stuff comes out. People are like, yeah,
Yeah,
this
it
person,
does. Yeah.
they're horrible. You know.
It's like I will never work
Yeah,
with this person again.
but Bet is wonderful. I tell you what, we had one time. There was one time we were doing this one tour where we were doing this. We had this big volcano. It was a skit, a Hawaii skit, and we did this. Anyway, we had this thing where one of the roadies or techs had to
Hmm.
shoot a fire extinguisher to simulate the volcano erupting.
Really?
I think it was where was it? Was it in Chicago or something? I forget where it was. And the local stagehands brought the wrong kind of fire extinguisher.
Oh
And
God.
what happened was I was very close to where the volcano was,
Hmm.
and they shot it up. They shot the fire extinguisher up through the volcano, and this cloud came falling right over me. Took all the oxygen out of the air. I was gasping because it was one of those chemicals that takes the oxygen out.
Yeah, the powder.
There were
Yeah.
different kinds of fire extinguishers.
Hmm.
Bro, I was on my knees. I was down on the ground, lurking for air. I was, I thought,
Oh my gosh.
finally I crawled out from under all the chemical and stuff like that, and finally caught my breath. And man, Bet was backstage. You killed my percussionist. Who did that? I was running around pissed off. You guys killed my percussionist. I said, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. The guy, hope, fortunately, nobody got hurt. and they wanted to fire the guy, but I was like, no. And, people make mistakes. It's okay. Don't worry about that. I don't want some
Yeah.
gig on it. I mean, it was a kind of a hairy situation.
That was a pretty big blooper.
Yeah, but gosh, I miss playing.
So what happened was that it wasn't her. It was it was basically you were frustrated because you couldn't understand.
I didn't realize how much it involved.
Yeah.
Or shows were how much it was involved, and I got kind of frustrated about it.
Yeah.
Because musicians. Well, people like me, we hold ourselves to an extremely high standard.
Correct.
I mean, I've heard people say that musicians, entertainers are, hold themselves to a higher standard than most surgeons do. I mean, it's like, surgeons do what they do, and they're doctors, and but we set the bar high every night, and we have to go farther than that. And it's a really incredible world that we live in. But to stay afloat in it, you have to know what you're doing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now I remember one time, and this was funny. I tell a lot of people I called you, and because I always call you once in a while. I said I always get a call.
You do it too, because I'm horrible.
I got a call because you're always on tour or something, or
not anymore now. But
yeah, not that much.
Not that much.
So I called you, and you were having sushi. And I'm saying, and you tell me, I'm with a friend of mine. We're just here having sushi. And I go, really? With who? Mick Jagger. And I was like, wait, what? And you're like, well, gotta go. And you hung up.
I was in the studio with them, and we were eating. Yeah, I did.
Mick Jagger, yeah. Are you kidding? That's Rolling Stones.
Sweet guy. Yeah. I did one or two of his solo albums. And then I did 2 albums with the Rolling Stones, Voodoo Lounge, and one after that, I forget. But what a sweet guy! What always wants knowledge. I'd have to go to his sessions early so he could we'd sit down and have a beer and and he'd have how you doing? What's been going on in the circuit? And questions about instruments. He played percussion. He told me. He said when he was a kid, he had an uncle who had a bar or a pub, and I think that he would play spoons in the pub. I tried to get him to play. He says, "Nah, don't play anymore." But he was the one that played a lot, the tambourine and the maracas and stuff like that on all those old albums, bro. That was him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did a lot of that shit.
Wow.
He's an amazing guy, so smart. Such a smart.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, oh gosh,
I was happy when Maroon 5 did that song "Move Like Jagger," like bring him back into the scene. Which, by the way, you got to play for Maroon 5. That's wild.
I did one album with them, I think. One
really?
Or 2. I forget.
I remember when they first came out, their first album, and I know I called you and we talked about it, and you're like, you heard this new band that's out now, Maroon 5? I like it. They sound real good.
Yeah, they were pretty cool. What was that? That one song? And I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the beginning of that. Some congas in that. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
As soon as I heard those guys, I was like, yeah, okay, these guys are gonna make money.
Right, me too. Because they gave that for some odd reason. When I listened to that album, it gave like a little bit 80s vibe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It gives that good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just did one album with them?
I think I did one. I think. I have to check my list. I don't remember a lot of things that I've done.
Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Adam Levine, the singer, yeah.
Yeah. Nice guy.
He seems pretty cool. He seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a very cool guy. Very, very cool.
Now you still keep in contact with all these artists that you played with, and
not all of them. No.
Really?
Some of them have gone by the wayside and have gone to the next level of existence.
Yeah.
Um, Not
Because
really.
I know
No,
I know a lot of these people, a lot of these musicians, the artists, once they get real big, they come out with some good albums, and then through the years, they're just like, okay, after that second or third album, they keep on dropping more albums, but it's not as popular anymore.
Yeah, yeah. The whole circuit is now different now because I mean, everything goes on views and all that stuff. It's the
Yeah,
popularity of an album is it's well, nobody does albums anymore. I mean, even CDs are kind of out the window.
correct.
So it's all downloads and streaming and that kind of thing. But a whole different world out there. But man, I mean, it's like I said, it's a whole different world out there now. I mean, there used to be so many recording sessions and stuff like that. A lot of the music has changed too. Guys like Weekend, I mean, it's a different production.
Hmm.
I don't hear a lot of percussion in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the things I was gonna ask you. I don't hear too much
and if you do,
congas,
it's a lot of program shit. It's like a lot of
Yeah.
program stuff, which
You
would
think that's ruining the music industry, the AI and all this?
well, AI's just started, so
Yeah.
we haven't even seen the full result of what that's gonna happen, what that's gonna do to the world. Period. It's already
Correct.
in there. Uh,
Because I mean, the music, a lot of times you could be one side of the country and the other artist could be in somewhere else, and
yeah, well, that's
they
what a
just
lot
do
of
the
people
music,
do.
everything through the internet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do now. I don't do so many real recording sessions these days. Every now and then I get, recently I did something for a group called Joyce Manor. They're a kind of a punk rock band from LA, and they wanted me to be in the studio, so I went to the studio. But most of the times people send me files and I do here in my house.
Oh,
I record
really?
in my house because that's, I mean, there are there used to be big budgets in the old days. I mean, there used to be a lot of record companies. There used to be a lot of things. There used to be artist development, and like I said earlier, it's a whole different ballgame now. People have to, you don't have any time to develop your art anymore. It's got to be right out of the chute, ready to go,
Hmm.
produced and ready to put out. You know, and a lot of stuff comes out on the internet rather than. I mean, I don't even know. Well, some people still listen to radio, I guess.
Yeah.
There is
Well,
stuff
now everything is, Pandora or
right, Spotify.
Spotify and all this stuff. Yeah, they listen to the music there or YouTube music.
Yeah, so I mean, you have to roll with what's
Do
going
you
on.
find it easier that way, doing it like I mean, obviously you're in the comfort of your own home,
Yeah.
but instead of being in a studio session?
Well, that's a good point. What I miss is that interaction that goes on between the musicians in the studio. When you're
Mhm.
looking at the guy, you're looking at the drummer and the guitar player, it's all right there and you're locked, in on what you're doing. I miss
Correct.
that. I do miss that a lot.
That bonding.
I mean, that used to be how everything was done in LA. I mean, the music business,
Correct.
basic tracks, recording sessions and stuff like that. You know,
Wow.
there were still some, but not as much as there used to be, you know. But
That's sad because those studios are, I think there's a very famous studio that even the Beatles did their recording session in LA. I
wow.
forgot. I don't know, something Avenue. I don't know. They did a documentary about this studio. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one that is. I mean, there was a few studios that
It's
I wonder
very
if it was
popular.
RCA popular. Huh? Oh, Capitol Records,
Yes, I
Capitol
think that
Studios.
one.
Yeah, that's still. They closed that studio down, but the studio is still there. They closed it, and I think what they did was they were retrofitting the building because there's been a lot of construction going on in that Hollywood area, and that building goes down. There are like three sub basements into that building. I
Hmm.
know I've been down there. Um, but they closed it down to retrofit the building. And I heard that they were going to open the studios again, but so far I haven't seen anything. But I know the studio is still there and it
Hmm.
hasn't been dismantled or anything like that. So I'm hoping Those rooms were. Oh, I did a lot of work in those rooms. At Capitol Records, as you know, a lot of those studios that have gone were like home for me, and that was one of them. And like you said, the Beatles were there, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra,
Yes.
everybody. I've done Grammy things there. I've done all kinds of albums in that in those studios, direct to disc, direct to delayed. Oh, yeah. I hope it opens back up. I really do. But a lot of them are gone. And the cost for running studios now too, has gone up. Well, everything has gone up.
Yeah, everything's gone. That's I think that's when you get the best performance and the best music. I mean, more when everybody's together recording a session because
Nothing beats it, bro. Nothing beats that.
you guys have the laughs, you guys have the okay, try to pick up here, go a little bit faster here because you
Well,
can't.
the guys playing off of each other. Okay, you're gonna play there, I'm gonna play this, and kind of working it out and making it fit like a glove, like a puzzle. Like, oh, okay. And it's such a joy to be in the same room. I mean, I've had that experience, and I'm so glad that I have had it, and a lot of it. Being in the room with guys playing and creating all together, man. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Wow,
Never
that's
will.
amazing.
But it's gonna come back, though. I mean, this business always goes through cycles. Things become fad. They become the thing to do, and everybody goes, "Well, what did we do originally?" Oh, happened with drummers. I mean, our guys were using drum machines forever. All of a sudden, like, oh, well, I think we'll go back and use drummers again.
Correct.
But a lot of drummers have had to learn how to play on the grid, play with the quick track, metronome. That's one thing that has changed a little bit. But there used to be guys like Jeff Porcaro, man, who didn't need a click track. You had him, you didn't have to worry about the time. Always
Jeez.
right.
Now, when you got with these big artists like Justin Bieber, were you in a studio with them or?
No, he wasn't around. I was just me, the producer, and the engineer.
Really?
And they just tell me, well, they run whatever songs they want. They run them down, and they tell me, well, we want this, or they ask me my opinion, and I just do it, and that's it. See you later. Pay me, and I'm out.
Jeez.
And then a lot of times I don't even know when it comes out because I don't really pay attention to it. After I do it, I don't know.
You're like, okay, I need to check out this song.
Well. Whatever it is, I hope it does well, and I get paid.
Now, do they also offer you to go on tour or no?
I always make the offer that if they want, some do, some don't. A lot of times they already have bands together and they already have plans. But I let people know, hey, I'm available for live if you want to.
Oh, okay, that's neat.
Sure.
That same went with Justin Timberlake, or you got to meet him?
I didn't see him either. He wasn't around.
Oh, okay.
Things and just that was it.
Yeah, because I always thought like these. I mean, they're so busy. They got so much stuff to do, and they're always
that's what
all
I was
over
saying
the place.
earlier. Some artists are hands-on people. They want to be there for everything. Other artists, they have things they got to do. So they just trust me and trust their producer to get what they want.
So they go to the best. They go to you.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, I know. I remember I got to see Kenny G live not too long ago. I think
he's still
2 years ago.
That's cool.
Really nice. I was in front row. He even gave me a fist pump and everything. It was nice. So at the end, I saw the percussionist. I said, Lenny Castro. Oh my God, yes, I know who he is.
Oh no, really? I wonder who that was.
He has I think
Latino, negro, black guy.
No, negro. It's a black guy.
Who that is?
I don't know if I have the names here. We got Robert Damper on piano and keys, Daniel Barrerano on drums, John Raymond, and I don't know. I forgot the percussionist. Oh, Ron Powell.
Oh, yeah. I know Ron. Yeah.
You know Ron?
Of course. He's one of the best, man. He's one of my boys.
He's good. He performs. He makes a show. He likes to make a show.
He is a showman, and he is quite a percussionist, and he's a wonderful guy. Yeah, so you got to see a good performer there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he plays good. He plays it pretty
he's
good.
sweet. He's a sweet guy. Yeah.
When I told him about you, oh man, he light up a smile. Oh yes, I know Lenny, of
He probably got a
course.
little nervous. You know, is he here?
Yeah.
Let me hear.
I said, he's my cousin, man. That's family, you know.
He plays great pandero. He's a wonderful. He's got good hands. He's done quite a lot of great recordings and stuff. He's a great cat. Wonderful, wonderful. One of my fellow percussion brethren.
Yeah.
Still
Because
doing.
all you guys kind of like stick together. And I know you kind of like explained to me that a lot of percussionists have their own, like, this is a while back. You told me they have their own fields, like their own.
Yeah, their own concept of where things are, or how things should feel. Yeah, everybody's got
Yeah.
their own.
And your own location as well. Because, like, if you're going to be with jazz, you're going to stick with jazz. If you're going to be into the rock, you
Yeah,
stick in rock. And you kind of don't jump too much that territory.
not a lot of guys do. I'm fortunate. Me and guys like Luis Conte, another fellow percussionist of mine who lives right. I could throw a rock at his house. We get it, you know, but it's not for everybody to be, you know, not everybody gets everything. You know, I'm blessed with being able to understand a lot more than just the Latin or the
Correct.
I can go from one genre to another and not bat an eye about it, you know.
Yeah, and then the people respect you for it because you
Yeah, I still get
you
paid,
have
so
that.
they must.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's Lenny. He could go anywhere he wants. He wants to do rock or rap or whatever. Put him in. He's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to the audience that they don't know, you're number one. You know, your guru, the guy that you always looked up to in percussion was Mongo Santa Maria, right?
Mungo was one. Yeah, Mungo, I think might have been the first, and then there was Ray Barreto. As far as congueros go, and then there were some other guys, you know, the salseros. And then as I started getting into jazz more, and jazz started changing, and they started using percussionists. There were more Brazilian percussionists that came out, like a guy named Daum Ramal. They used to call him the Rat because he looked like a rat, but he was an amazing Brazilian percussionist who was just he had a different approach on things. And then there's guys like Arto, another Brazilian percussionist, who I learned a lot from. I learned a lot of stuff from just listening to him. You know.
Yeah, Roberto Hidalgo, right?
You know, and then there were guys, you know, timbaleros and bongoceros and stuff like that, you know. But as music changed, you know, percussion changed, and it became more than just congas and bongos and tambourines. It started really getting into what we now call world music, but in them days it was jazz or jazz fusion. You know,
Wow.
guys using different instruments that you don't normally see, like dumbecks and Middle Eastern instruments, Chinese instruments, Japanese instruments. See, percussion is global because there is not one culture or one society or one country that does not have percussion. Percussion is a constant throughout time and throughout history. You know,
Jeez.
it's deep.
It's deep, yeah, and you need it. I mean, I listen to some music that there's no percussionist into it, and it just sounds, I don't know, it's just something is left out.
Yeah, well, there's a place for that too. Some people like this. You know, there's an old saying that that silence is part of music also. You know, where you don't play, where you don't put things, the effectiveness on how it is, what it does. You know, sometimes a silence before you start the next thing can be very, very effective. You know, or as Bette Midler to say, you know, a rest is part of music too. You know, music rest when you play the note and then there's a rest where you don't play.
Yeah.
She would say that when guys would be playing too many notes, and she would say, "Yeah, rest is part of music too." You know, in other words, take it easy. She would say some really beautiful things, man, that I would keep forever in my heart.
Yeah.
I love her. I love her too. I would take a bullet for her.
Wow. And you were just on tour. Well, I think a couple of years ago, right? In 22 or something, you were with Myers,
John Mayer.
John Mayer.
Yeah, John Mayer. Yeah, I did the Sob Rock tour. What was that? I forget. Was it about 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years. Time flies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was a great tour, man. Unfortunately, it was during the COVID scene, and we had to travel around with restrictions, and the tour got canceled or postponed in the middle of it. And then we started back up. We had to send everybody home because eventually everybody got sick, including John. Poor John got COVID twice.
Oh,
Pain in the ass it was for everybody, having to do tests every day. We had these nurses that were on the road with us, and every morning they jab your nose, take a test. Okay, you're good. But
jeez.
you do what you have to do.
You
It
do
was
what you
still
have to do.
it was still a wonderful tour. Oh my God. Just carte blanche, 5 stars, not 5 stars, 10 stars. Just accommodations. I mean, just he knows how to do things right. And
He take care of his own
I'm
people.
so spoiled. Like,
Wow.
ah,
Have you ever told him that he looked like Johnny Depp?
oh hell no. I don't think he looks like Johnny Depp. He's a
When
lot
he
better
put on his
looking than Johnny
glasses, I said, man, this guy looks a little bit like
Depp.
Johnny
You think
Depp.
so? I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I
You
miss him.
got to put the dark sunglasses.
I can't wait. We're gonna do some gigs in September. We
Oh,
finally
really?
gigs. Yeah, we got some gigs coming up in September. Thank God, because I love.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're doing this major gig in September. We're opening for Zach Bryan. There's this concert that they're doing. It's supposed to break a record as far as attendance. It's going to be in Michigan State Stadium in Michigan, somewhere in Michigan. It's supposed to be 107,000 people. That's going to break a record. I mean, I think the largest audience I've ever played to might be 60, 70, possibly.
67, but 100,000 people?
107,000. Who's that 7? No. 107,000
Jeez.
people. So
I
that's
was going to say, is Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi going to be there? Because that's a lot of people.
bro, man. It's going to be crazy. And we're the opening act, of course.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. That's what's so funny. But it's going to
That's
be a
awesome.
fun gig. And I think we're going to do a couple of gigs here in LA before we do that. And then we're supposed to do some festival in Nashville after that. So we'll have a few gigs. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that he'll book some more stuff.
Oh, good.
For the end of the year, going into next year. I hope they hear
Hopefully.
this. Yeah, because I love playing with him. I love working with him, and he's the nicest cat in the world. It's just I don't even he's the artist, but he's just like another bro, another cat. In the
Really?
band.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure he takes all your advice and he'll listen to you because he knows who you are and you got the experience. And
He has a lot of respect for his band. He told me, he says, I turn around and I look at it, I see all the guys that I've listened to all my life on my stage. And I'm like,
wow.
yeah, because you got it like that. He knows what everybody has done. He knows everything that I've done, almost.
Wow.
He'll come to me and says, oh, I just found out you did this, man. That's great. He's constantly updating and upgrading his mind.
He's
and
researching.
music. And he's an incredible player himself. He's just,
Yes, he plays the guitar crazy.
dude, he's crazy. Yeah, he's
Wow.
utmost respect for him, and respect and love for a guy like
That's
him.
phenomenal.
And not because he hired me, but
Yeah.
no, I practice my Japanese with him. He speaks a little Japanese, so
Oh, really?
practice our Japanese. We
Oh,
show
that's cool.
off in front of people going, what the fuck is there? What's going on here? What are they speaking? It's kind of gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I gotta get out the sun here. So we're gonna go longer because I gotta go have lunch.
No, we're good. We're about to go. Well,
Oh my God.
because I know one last thing. I know you did. You had an album you put out.
Yeah.
And how that went, and is there going to be a future album?
It did pretty good. I sold 500 copies.
Really?
Well, I gave away some too. But
Yeah.
It was what it was. It was something that I just needed to do, and I think I did a pretty good job. It was.
Yeah.
I
That's for
listen
the
to it
bucket
every now
list,
and then.
right?
I listen to it now and I go, wow, I should have done this instead of that. But it's a learning process. And
Mm.
yes, I'm in the process of doing a second one.
The
Yeah,
second one.
yeah. And I got a song from I don't know if you remember my uncle Tito. She was my mother's brother. I don't think you ever met him. You would probably never met him. But anyway, he was a songwriter, a guitar player. I'm going to record one of his songs that he left me. He left me all his music. And there's one
Oh
song
wow.
named called Rainbow that's very beautiful that I hope I could do it some justice.
Well, I'm sure you're gonna do good. You'll do good in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you did that on your own, and I remember you just did that on your own. You didn't like sponsor it. You didn't get it like to go really that much out.
I was, it's at a time where people just record. I went to one friend of mine who has a record company. The Don he's the president of Blue Note Records. And I played him 3 or 4 tracks and he loved it. And he said, but you know what? Our record company's not big enough. Companies are not big enough to really give you the attention you need. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose your friendship. He said,
Mm.
if they make me sign and something happens and I get pissed off about what's going on with
Correct.
and he's the guy that got me on the Rolling Stones album. But
Oh,
and he's such a good friend. We've done a lot of stuff with him. I've done a lot of stuff with him. He's an incredible musician and a great friend, and I
yeah.
respect the hell out of him. And he
Wow.
kind of guided me. He says, now you could do stuff on your own. That stuff is great. Get it all mixed up and happening, then put it out.
And
I
put it
was
out.
like,
Yeah.
and I was like, the hell, that's possible. We live in that day and age. You know,
Mm.
everybody does it now.
Yeah. Everybody does. They do
That's
their
what,
stuff and they put it on YouTube.
yeah, that's like I was saying, everything's different now, puppy.
Yeah.
You know?
Now the social media.
Yeah, buddy. So
Well,
just gonna keep up with it.
well, Lenny, cuz thank you so much for this
I'll talk
time. I know you're a busy man and it's such an honor.
to you.
Yeah, we'll do another podcast. This
Yeah, I'm
time
gonna get more
next
quick.
time I'll bring one of the guys that he's into music. He has a
Oh,
record label, a
yeah.
punk rock, and I'll
Oh,
set it up to his name is Robert Bowling. He's a phenomenal guy, very humble, very very nice guy.
I'd love to meet him.
So nice. I mean, he follows me. I even got his number if I need to call him
Did you tell him you
and
were doing the thing with me? Does he?
yeah, I did. I told him. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna listen to it,"
Oh, oh, that's
So
sweet.
I told him, I say, "Hey.
Well, tell him I'm interested to. I'm looking forward to meeting him. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go." I think he lives over there in California. So
Oh,
I mean, all the people that's into music are down there.
yeah. Here in
So
Nashville. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's
And a
true.
little bit, and
Nashville.
a little bit in Austin too. There's a little circuit in Austin going. New York guys are weird.
Yeah, no, music is all. I
Everything's
mean,
the
New
same
York
there.
is all a lot about fashion and
Yeah, that's a different bag.
yeah,
Anyway,
different stuff. Yeah.
okay, Papa, I love you, man. This is
Okay.
a real
Well,
pleasure.
one final thing. What would you like to say to the guests? For those that are trying to get into music and they want to grow up,
Ah,
what is your recommendation to them that's listening?
hone your craft. If you're playing something, play it right, play it good, take it to the highest peak, and follow what's going on now. Now the exposure is networking on the network on the internet. Use these tools that have been brought to us to bring yourself to the forefront. Because things have changed here in the music business since I first started. But and do everything from the heart. That's my advice.
There you guys have it. You got it from the legend, the one and only Lenny Castro. Thank you so much. Okay, folks.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in. Take care. God bless. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Rascals Lounge Podcast. And don't forget to click like and follow on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss an episode.